don't start having conversations, asking questions in these uncertain times, how do we overcome the unknown? When your moments of today are controlled by your thoughts of tomorrow, when do the problems of yesterday catch up with your someday I'll take time and get around to it life? As we know it keeps changing. We search for answers and find new reason. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Deshaun Brown. This is the podcast, New Equals Reason. In a world where the unknown keeps us learning daily together, we journey into the new. It equals the reason to have a conversation about it. If we all plant good seeds today, our food for thought for tomorrow will be plentiful for the future. On this episode, I want to talk about a conversation. I want to try something a little different. I'm going to ask just questions. And even though you're listening, if you're by yourself or not, you can answer out loud or in your head, because conversations are the best way to get a feel for each other. Conversations are the best way to grow. So I just want to start by asking, how are you doing? How is life treating you these days? Since the start of COVID, what are some things that you've noticed that you really need, or some things you've noticed that you really missed that you really didn't think about? Well, since we're talking about COVID-19, are you an essential worker, or did you find you're a non-essential worker and get that really nice unemployment stimulus package? Essential worker or non essential worker, do you think we should get another stimulus package And do you think they should continue the unemployment $600 a week thing? Now, I don't know about you, but I have a child in school. You may or may not. And if you do, how do you feel about the possibility of not going to school every day versus how it used to be? I think anybody that has kids or doesn't have kids can understand my next question or just statement in general, but I would like to see or hear your response. Kids today don't understand the magnitude of what's going on as far as them canceling schools and schools being out. And I don't think they understand the levels of where we're at as far as socially and in politics with what's going on. Do you agree or not agree with what's going on with the world today? And with what's going on today, you may or may not like the president. That's not my business. But what he's done as far as try to stimulate the economy, uh, put more money in Americans' hands, I think we all can agree was a good business move. Because if you had this many Americans out of work with no pay, the world would be in a very different state. What are your thoughts on the climate from where he's standing or sitting? Do you agree with some of the moves? Not agree? Do you think they're beneficial? Or do you think we could have went a different route? This next question is kind of for my sports fans. I'm one that believes, sports keep a lot of things on the news that we've seen lately as far as riots and protests and looting. I think sports keeps that kind of minimized. Are you glad to see sports possibly starting back, or do you think these guys should be given more uh, thought as far as being considered humans, not professional athletes that play a sport for a living, do you think they should be given more time away, or do you think they should still be trying to start sports because you're in July and they're going to start playing here really soon with your major sports? And I'd like a few thoughts from my sports fans on what they think. And this is a question for all the families out there, that may be listening in the car with kids or just riding, talking to their kid out loud. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on continuing to wear masks in your bigger cities? What are your thoughts on kids wearing masks to school, if you have any? I know for myself, I wish they made a more breathable mask, one that you could wear and not feel like you're going to pass out if you wear it too long. But what are your thoughts on how they can improve the mask, if this is something that we may need to continue to wear in the future, or if it continues to spike at record numbers, we might have to wear for foreseeable future? What are your thoughts on how we can improve the mask? And we have to be smart. We have to be aware of what's going on. I think everybody should continue to uh, keep their hygiene levels high, as far as, hand sanitizer if you can when you're out, washing your hands when you can, trying to avoid people when they're sick, obviously. And if you know anybody who has possibly been around somebody with COVID, that you distance yourself as well as your family from those people, just for, health reasons. And you don't know who has a immune system deficiency, so being aware of where you're at is very important. What are your thoughts on how we could, make ourselves safer, how we could live more in a environment where, you can feel like you're around good people that have your best intentions in mind? I know this show, or this episode of the podcast, was a little different. I just want to try it this way. I've never really heard of one that actually tried it this way. I would like to thank anybody who listened and maybe answered the questions and got this far. Greatly appreciated every listener for any episode that I've recorded and you've listened to. I greatly appreciate it, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for tuning in to my podcast, New Equals Reason. I'm your host, Deshaun Brown. Conversation is key to communication. So let's keep the conversation going until the next time. Thank you.